Setting up a brand storytelling team as a publisher can be really challenging. You obviously have concerns about the separation of church and state. You want to make sure, in many cases, that your editorial integrity is protected, not just literally, but also from a perception standpoint. If your audience thinks that there's something untoward happening, that's just as bad as actually having a problem. So you definitely want to be aware of any limitations you might have with regards to access to your editorial team. In most cases, that means setting up an entirely separate team, often sourced with former journalists. So whether you use freelancers to come in and help on a per project basis, or you hire a dedicated team, as many publishers have, and kind of set up that whole content studio, you're looking for the same kind of talent you'd want in your newsroom. So if you are a publication that specializes in in-depth reporting, then you probably want some freelancers who have experience with in-depth reporting. If you're a video publication and you focus on, snackable social content, then you want someone who's got experience in that realm. So essentially building something that mirrors the skills that are required in your newsroom is going to give you the best chance to create brand content that aligns with your editorial content and meets your audience's expectations. For most publishers who are focused on news, if you are a news publisher, breaking news or finance, your audience has an expectation that the editorial content you create is independent of influence from brands. In most cases, they're expecting it to be honest, really straight and narrow content. In those cases, it could be really dangerous to have those same people working on brand content because it brings their judgment into question. You definitely want to protect that by having a separate team work on your brand content. But if you're working at more of a lifestyle publication, maybe a fashion magazine or a home decor website, there's a little bit more latitude. Your audience probably doesn't have the expectation that brands are not at all involved in what you do. They actually come to you for recommendations of products, whether it's clothing or makeup or a brand of curtains to put in your living room. So being able to acknowledge your audience's expectation. Does the audience expect that brands have a presence here? Are they okay with brands having a presence here? And if they are, in the case of a lifestyle magazine or something, then it might not be so bad to have your editors have some level of involvement. But I do think it's a judgment call unique to every publication. My background as a journalist, really coming from that hard news side of things, I always err on the side of keeping it separate. I think it doesn't hurt, to protect it, even maybe more than you have to protect that integrity. But I understand that there are a lot of publications where that's not part of their guiding mission, and it's okay for them to have some of that. So I think it's just a judgment call for every publisher. One of the things that we debate a lot in the native ad industry is how we disclose things and the transparency. It's so important that our readers, as publishers, understand that the content that they may be reading or viewing is coming from a brand. And I think a misconception is that anyone is trying to hide that. A brand doesn't spend all that money to create a piece of branded content only to have no one know that they played a role in it. Their goal, their marketing, right? There's an intent to have someone know that their brand is doing this. So I think it's important for all of us to make sure that transparency is key. I think the biggest challenge for us is that there's no unified way of doing this. So every publisher has their own rules. Most are trying their best to disclose it. There are some who don't for various reasons. But for the most part, you're just trying to find the way that makes sense to your audience to help them understand. Sometimes that means the URL of the website is different, paid post dot or sponsored dot, something like that. Oftentimes it's on page, so you might have a colored bar at the top. You might have sponsored in the headline. And sometimes there's even other things too. You may have a gray background or a line at the bottom. At the New York Times, we had a line that would say, the news and editorial staffs of the New York Times had no role in this content's preparation. So again, every publisher, I think, has to make their own judgment call. And as long as, as long as you can sleep at night knowing that you're doing the best job you can to make sure your audience is not deceived, I think everyone is happier.